My message is entitled A Different Worldview. A different worldview. For those of us who've been studying in our Bible study during the fall and late early winter, we have done two series of studies taken from the writings of Dr. Van der Laan. He also produced two wonderful videos to go along with these studies. We watched them. One is called Cultures in Conflict. Cultures in Conflict. The other one was entitled Clash of the Kingdoms. Almost similar and making really the same point, driving home the fact that we live as Christians in a world that is contra-Christian, that is different from the way in which we see things, perceive things, and we live out our lives. It is very true that we live in the same world as everybody does. It's not like we are in a different world by itself. No, we go to the same stores, we do shopping at the same malls, we send our children to the same schools, we work in the same offices and businesses. So what's the difference? The difference is how we live, how we conduct ourselves in the world in which we live. Jesus calls attention to this fact that as his followers, as his disciples, we would be different in the way in which we live. And he highlights many, many different ways in which we can do this. Some of the propositions that we draw out of this Bible passage is the world on the one hand says, do unto others before they do it unto you. Jesus says, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. The world says, you are the center of your life. Jesus says, I am the center of your life. The world says, no one really cares or loves you. No one really cares or loves you. Jesus says, I care for you and I love you more than anyone. The world says, take whatever, whenever, wherever, however. Jesus says, give whatever, whenever, wherever, and however. So you see, the philosophies of this world and of Jesus are diametrically opposite. And Jesus highlights this very clearly in this passage in Luke chapter 6, which is, by the way, a kind of a mirror reflection of what Jesus says as recorded in the Gospel of Matthew in chapters 5, 6, and 7, where Jesus offers them the Beatitudes, how to live, what kind of attitudes you bring to your daily lives. Particularly here in this chapter, Luke chapter 6, Jesus is talking about how to live our lives with those with whom it is difficult to live. I mean, it is easy to live with people who are easy to live with. You know this, it's very simple. Easygoing people are easy to live with. But if truth be told, most of the time, we live with people who are difficult to live with. We live with people who make it so hard for us to live, we kind of get frustrated and we get upset and we get angry. And we might even go to war, shall we say, to settle our differences. But Jesus says, don't do that. Love your enemies. Well, some of us might say, thank God, I don't have any enemies. I don't have anyone that I consider as an enemy. So you see, I don't have any problem. Not so fast. Is there someone that you hold a grudge against? Is there someone that has done some harm or hurt to you long back in your life and you still haven't forgotten that incident, or you haven't forgiven that person? That is your enemy. There are evil perpetrators in this world who do things to you for whatever reason, and it causes pain and hurt. And Jesus says, let go. Drop it. Let it go. Forgive them. Forgive them and move on. Do good to those who hate you. Oh, in our culture, we use that word very freely. At least I hear it so freely. When I was growing up, I didn't hear it that much. I hate this. I hate peanut butter. Come on. Or I hate jam. Or I hate bread. You don't like it. You don't hate it. You don't like it, right? But in this culture, we say, I hate this and I hate that. And I hate the snow and I hate whatever. And so easily we kind of translate that to people. I hate those people. We may not really mean hatred, but we use that word so lightly. I hate these people, or I hate that person, or I hate people who do this and that and the other. No, use your words very carefully, because it can cause pain and hurt. Have people said things to you that have hurt you? I know. I'm sure you have, because I have heard them too. And so often we are so hurt by the words, long after they are spoken, we still remember, I know exactly the place where that person said this to me. I know exactly what I was doing when somebody called me this particular name. Jesus says, let go. Don't dwell on that. Leave it and move on. Bless those who curse you. Has anyone cursed you lately? At least maybe you didn't hear it, but you feel it, right? You feel it in your heart. They may not really come out and say anything bad, but then you know that they meant something. And then Jesus says, for somebody like that, you pray. Have you ever prayed for that person who cut you off of the road? Have you? I say to myself, God, that person must be in such an awful hurry to go somewhere where they have to be right now, but keep them safe. Keep them safe for themselves and keep them safe for people like me. Keep them safe. Pray for those who mistreat you. Prayer is a good thing when you especially pray for those who don't agree with you, who don't like you for whatever reason. Just try that and see what that does to you. And then Jesus continues, verse 29. If somebody slaps you on one cheek, now that's going a little too far, right? You can say whatever you want to say, but don't touch me. Right? But there are people who do that. There are people who don't mind taking you by the collar, pulling you even to the point of tearing your shirt or pulling the buttons off of your shirt or jacket, whatever, because they want to express their anger. They're upset. So they do that to you. If somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. Who does that? Is it even possible? Don't you even try to defend yourself and push that person away so that they will not have the opportunity to strike you again? Who says, all right, slap me on this side? No, we don't normally do that. And that's precisely the point. What Jesus is saying, live in such a way, in such a shocking way, behave in such a shocking way that people will say, who are you? Why are you doing what you're doing? It stops them in their tracks because they're expecting something retaliatory, something that will hit them back, and they're defending or ready to defend themselves. And you're saying, I'm not here to fight you. You want to satisfy your anger? There's my other cheek. Mahatma Gandhi in India, some of you may know, used that method. He called it nonviolence. It is through that form of his response to the British government that he was able to obtain freedom for India. And so often when he talked about it, people did not understand him because it was a principle that they didn't understand. They understood eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. They understood that if somebody throws a stone at you, or if somebody throws a brick at you, throw a stone back. In other words, hit them back again so hard that they will not even bother you the next time. That is the philosophy of a lot of people. I heard that so many times when I was a child growing up. Hit them back so that they will never think of hurting you again. But Gandhi didn't say that. Especially talking to the two major factions in India, Hindus and Muslims, he said, love each other. Love each other. He once told a Hindu family that wanted to do something good. What should we do? And Gandhi said, find a child. Find a child who is an orphan and raise that child. But make sure that that child is a Muslim child and raise him as a Muslim. His family was so shocked, they kind of walked away, not knowing what to make of it. I think the principle here is that so often we want people to become like us. We want people to think like us. We want people to practice the way that we practice life. And when they don't do that, it makes us upset. So if somebody abuses you, if somebody mistreats you, if somebody curses you, if somebody takes your coat by force, Jesus says, don't withhold your shirt from them. This is going the second mile, as we say. In the day that Jesus lived, the Jews were under Romans. You all know that. And the Romans really didn't care how they treated people. They mistreated people, common people all the time. One of the privileges that a Roman soldier had was to call anybody off the road and tell him to pick up his luggage and take it for 1 mile. That was the legal right that he had. But he could only take him for 1 mile, no more. Then he had to go find somebody else. What Jesus is saying is, if he forces you 1 mile, willingly go the second mile. That's why we have that phrase in our common usage. I went the second mile for this person. What Jesus again is saying is, extend your generosity beyond what is demanded of you, beyond what is expected of you. And you say, who does that? Is that even possible? Yes, it is. You can do it. You can pray for those who use foul language against you. You can bless those who curse you. You can. You can. The other day I did an exercise. I said to myself, I woke up in the morning, I had my devotion, and something similar to what I'm talking about came across. And I said, Lord, help me to do something today. Help me to make a conscious note of everyone who does wrong to me today. Everyone who says something bad to me. Everyone who undermines me. Everybody who does their own thing at my expense. You know what was surprising is I found a lot of people. I found a lot of people because I was conscious. I was paying attention. People who didn't even care that I was even there, even when I spoke. They didn't care because they were busy doing something else. They didn't want anybody to interrupt what they were doing. They were rude, impolite, unkind, pushed themselves. In one particular store, the same day, by the way, same day, I was waiting in line. Mine was the next turn. A woman comes right past, pushing herself to the front and going to the checkout before me. I said, gosh, she must be in such a hurry. There must be something so urgent going on, something so troubling in her life. She couldn't wait 5 minutes in the line. Normally, I would have said something, but I said, Lord, help me today not to do it. And so I think Jesus sent that woman just to say, let's see, David, what you're going to do. Pray for those who take advantage of you. Hard and yet possible. Then Jesus goes on to say, give to everyone who asks of you. Give. Don't be always taking, give. If anyone takes what belongs to you, okay, not even asking you, do not demand it back. How many cases have you seen on daytime TV, court cases, right? Judge Judy and all those others. What do you see? Oh, he borrowed my this thing and he didn't return it. Oh, she borrowed some money from me, promising she'll give it to me. She never returned it to me. This happened, that happened, all these issues. Petty issues, but they make daytime TV very interesting. Fighting each other, taking to court somebody for something very trivial. Jesus says, even if somebody takes it by force, what belongs to you, don't even ask for it. Let it go. Who does that? You do, if you are a follower of Christ. This is what I think Jesus is trying to impact his listeners. You be different, because the world does it in a different way. And the world has its own rules and regulations, how to operate. But you operate on a different level. When you interact with people, they must ask, who is this person? Who are you? And why are you doing what you're doing? What makes you do what you do? What makes you so gracious and so loving and so forgiving? I am sure Joseph could have dealt with his brothers much, much differently than the way in which the story goes. You remember the story. Joseph was a teenager who was kicked around by his brothers. They had jealousy, nothing but hatred against this dreamer. They wanted to get rid of him. They wanted to kill him. They threw him in a cistern with no water. They sold him to the Midianites. He became a slave in Potiphar's household. He was faithful, and yet charges were brought against him by Potiphar's wife, who accused him that he was assaulting her. And then he was thrown in jail. But he was faithful. Time came when he sat on the throne, ruling all of Egypt, and his brothers came for food. When they heard there was food in Egypt, what did Joseph do? Did he say, "Hey, you are, you guys, you tried to kill me. You beat me up so many times. You tore up my coat. You treated me so badly. And now I have the chance to pay you back." Wouldn't you love to be in Joseph's place? If somebody like the person that you haven't forgiven for whatever they did or said came and stood in front of you and you are the judge and you had the power to rule over them, what would you do? Joseph wept before them, forgave them, embraced them, and said, in fact, it is not you who did all this to me. God allowed this so that this day I would be able to save you from famine. Whatever is going on in your life has a purpose. has a reason. Even the evil that happens in your life, in mine, there is a purpose for it. Because God wants to show something greater in that situation. Bottom of this passage, Jesus explains it. Be merciful because your Father is merciful. When you do this, you are increasing your credit with God. Often that word is used here. What credit is? What credit is that? We all understand credit. God has unreserved, limitless credit for you. Just draw from it. When you go to the bank and take a home equity loan, they have a limit. You can only borrow so much because your value is only so much. Beyond that, the bank won't give you a dime. But with God, his riches are so vast, limitless. Why? Because he loves you, not for what you are, not for what you do, but simply because he loves you. Period. There's no explanation. Praise and thanks be to God that we have been so blessed. We have been so blessed. Every one of us here in this room has been so blessed that we can become such a mighty blessing in the lives of people around us. Our families will be so blessed because of you. Our friends will be so blessed because of you. Your colleagues will be so blessed because of you. Your supervisors will be blessed because of you. Wherever you go, if you follow the way of Jesus, you will bring blessing upon blessing to everyone around you. That is the point of Jesus. Amen.